Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Playbook. I'm Golla, alongside my resident analyst, Louie from the Louie Network. We have got a jam-packed 30 minutes lined up, including a look at some of the most competitive divisional races in the NFL. We'll also take a look at Week 11's marquee matchups. But of course, first we talk about the Redskins. Louie, the Redskins are on a high right now, coming off a huge victory over the Saints, 47-14. An offensive explosion of sorts we haven't seen from this team all season long. 584 yards in total. That's an NFL high for the season. Is this an indication that this team is finally turning the corner and really establishing an offensive rhythm?
First, let me say, wow. I don't think anybody saw that coming. And all week long, we heard about how the Saints defensively weren't a very good football team. And I would love to just say the Redskins are hitting their stride, come off the bye week after the New England debacle. Everybody's starting to get in sync. But truth of the matter is, it was the New Orleans Saints. They just fired their defensive coordinator. They're a really bad defensive football team. Now, granted, the Redskins have played some really tough defensive teams this year. So when they see a team like New Orleans coming down the pipeline, they're ready to pounce. And that's what they did in this game. It was good to see the run game get back on track. Good to see Kirk Cousins' perfect passer rating in the game have such a great contest. Let's see if they can continue to build off of the momentum they got from this big win.
You might be right in the sense this team did what they were supposed to do, but we haven't seen this team make big plays throughout the season, not down the field and not in the backfield. We saw that from Matt Jones. We saw that from Deshaun Jackson. I saw this team click in ways I hadn't seen them click before.
To me, Kirk Cousins is getting comfortable. You see the maturation. You see him getting more comfortable in his skin, realizing, hey, I've got playmakers out here. Let me get the football in their hands and allow them to make the big plays. The Redskins, to me, are inconsistent when they go on the road. They don't do the bootlegs. They don't do the screen game as much as I would like them to. They had that going in this game. Matt Jones was able to not only catch the football well out of the backfield, but make some plays after. And that's the thing that we haven't seen from this Redskins team this season a lot, is guys making plays after the catch. Jamison Crowder has been a guy that has done that this season, and he did it again in this game. Good to see everyone getting involved. That Deshaun Jackson deep ball at the beginning of the game, I thought, set the tone for the Redskins offensively in this football game.
Anytime he's in the game, he stretches the field for this team. But I think it's encouraging that they haven't gone away from Jamison Crowder, a young guy who has made big plays throughout the season. You don't see him getting less targets now that Deshaun Jackson is back in the lineup. The Redskins really had a game plan coming into this game, combating the blitz.
What you do to slow down a blitzing defense is you throw screens. And that's what they did in this ball game. They ran bootleg, got Kirk off the spot, out of the pocket, out of harm's way. And I thought what was really impressive from Kirk Cousins, aside from the one bad throw when he went across his body, looked eerily similar to that Giants game where he threw the interception across his body, was that he took sacks. When it wasn't there, he didn't make the big mistake that everybody's waiting on him to make. And when it was there, he did not miss in this football game.
He had no interceptions, four touchdowns, a perfect passer rating, 22 for 25 and 324 yards. If you can get this kind of game from Kirk Cousins, or semblance of this kind of game from Kirk Cousins moving forward, how good can this team be?
This team is going to be very dangerous if they can get that kind of performance from Kirk Cousins on a weekly basis. The thing is, the defense is going to have their bumps and their bruises. We've seen this defense struggle this season. It was good to see them get on track in this game. But if Kirk Cousins plays this way with that kind of confidence, that's going to resonate throughout the entire team. And you're going to see this team perform at a much higher level if they can get that kind of play and production from their quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
And from a defensive standpoint, they got a lot more pressure up the middle. That's something you see them continuing, or is it just the Saints?
Look, Drew Brees is masterful at the quarterback position. Anytime you can get one of the best quarterbacks in the league to be rattled a bit, you got to feel good about what you were able to accomplish. And the Redskins did get a lot of pressure on Drew Brees. Was it an inordinate amount of pressure? No, but it was enough to make him inconsistent throughout the ball game. So, yes, I think that's something they can continue because Chris Baker's played well this year. I think the key, and we've said this all along, is Jason Hatcher. He was active in this game. Stephen Paya was active, and he's a lot healthier now than he was a couple of weeks back. So if the defensive line can continue to do what they did in this game, you'll see this defense take strides and steps towards being much better in the second half of the season.
Well, the Redskins have a shot at really making a statement when they welcome the Carolina Panthers undefeated to FedEx Field.
Yes.
How do you see that one shaking out?
The Redskins traditionally struggle with the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they've beaten Cam Newton in his career. And this is a game that I think is very winnable. And I think they've got a couple of things going in their favor right now. A, they're playing much better football. They're a confident group. More importantly, they're healthy for the first time all season long, Free. But the next thing I think is going to help them in this game tremendously is that they've went through this before with the New England game just 2 weeks ago where they played an undefeated team on the road. Jay Gruden came out and said, we have to be perfect. And what happened? They went out, they pressed, they tried to be perfect, made some mistakes. I think this time the message is going to be a little bit different, and they're going to go out, play a lot looser, and give themselves a chance on the road against an undefeated Carolina Panthers.
They have to play, like you said, near perfect ball. Can't turn the ball over against this team. They have to find a way to get pressure on Cam Newton, but also contain him in the pocket and make him make plays in the pocket. Is this team's biggest challenge offensively or defensively?
It's got to be defensively in this game because I think the Redskins can have success against the Carolina Panthers defense. I think where they could struggle in this game is containing Cam Newton. They've had trouble with mobile quarterbacks. Cam Newton is a guy that can extend the play, as we know. He can take the ball and run it himself. And I think that's why the Redskins have struggled with this Carolina Panthers team over the years with Cam Newton in the line. It's because of his athleticism and his ability to get out of the pocket. Defensively, I think that's where their biggest challenge is going to be in this game.
And throw in Jonathan Stewart as well. Yes. If you let both of those guys have their way from the backfield, it's going to be hard to stop this team. But the Skins receivers, we saw how explosive this offense could be when all things are hitting from all cylinders. Will they have their way or at least have some production against this secondary, Josh Norman?
I would tell Kirk Cousins, stay away from him. He's not safe. But other than that, I think it's fair game out there. Stay away from Josh Norman. They've got Peanut Tillman on one side. He is definitely a guy you can go after. Their safeties don't scare anyone. Bené Ben-Wickery, he's a solid young slot corner, but he's a guy that you can challenge. They've got some matchups that they can win in this football game. I would caution them to tread softly when they go over to that side where Josh Norman is because that guy is a playmaker and can change games by himself.
Certainly a chance for them to really have a statement game here. So we'll see if the Redskins pull this one out. If they do, you've got to start really thinking about this team coming out of the NFC East. This is 4 Down territory, 4 questions, 4 topics. My guy Louie T here is going to take a crack at them. The Green Bay Packers started off the season 6-0, but have since dropped their last 3 games, including a game to the Lions last week, a team that had only won 1 game before the matchup against the Packers. Is this an indication that the Packers are now seeing the impact of a team without Jordy Nelson?
Among other things, yeah, they're struggling in a number of areas, and I think something that a lot of people are starting to allude to is the fact that Mike McCarthy isn't calling the plays. But I challenge them to the fact that they started the season 6-0 without Mike McCarthy calling the plays. So I think it's a situation where the injuries are really starting to catch up with them. At certain points of the season where the competition gets a little bit tougher, and yeah, you can beat San Diego and you can beat a Bears team that isn't prepared or a Kansas City Chiefs team that's struggling with injuries of their own. But what happens when you play the Denver Broncos on the road or the Panthers on the road or now a Lions team coming off of a bye that maybe is recharged? And that's family business. And so you're seeing them struggle now with different things, and I think it's all starting to come to a head right now in Green Bay.
And you're seeing a huge breakdown now with that offensive line. A lot of pressure they're allowing up the middle. Aaron Rodgers not getting the protection he needs. He's starting to scramble a lot more than you would like as a coach. They're not getting the running game going. Eddie Lacy has not been consistent from the backfield. So that's something they have to establish, the running game, in order to get the passing game to be a lot more effective for them.
Absolutely. It'd be a nice help to get some production out of Eddie Lacy. He's been dealing with injuries all season long. They're going to get Andrew Quarles back at the tight end position. That's going to help them immensely because guys aren't winning one-on-one matchups outside of Randall Cobb. These guys aren't separating from defensive backs. Devontae Adams, he's catching a slew of hitches. He's not getting away. He's not breaking tackles. They need guys to step up and make plays, and right now that's not happening in Green Bay on a consistent basis.
Another team we see struggling after a strong start is a team that you had your bet on, the Denver Broncos. Now having lost their last 2 games, and Peyton Manning still struggling, only completing 5 passes for 35 yards and 4 interceptions, got yanked in the 3rd quarter. Has Gary Kubiak conceded that Peyton Manning cannot run this offense? And if that's the case, does anything change moving forward?
18 can run the offense. Peyton Manning can run Gary Kubiak's. Is he going to run Gary Kubiak's offense as precise and to a T as he would like him to? No. I mean, Peyton's 39 years old. He can't run and meet that mesh point on those stretch handoffs and play action fake 30 times a game. But there's a compromise that they found with the pistol shotgun formation and Peyton doing all of the things out of there. I think this has nothing to do with Gary Kubiak's offense and more to do with just Peyton Manning getting up there. And Father Time is tapping him on the shoulder. Hey, your time's up. And so you're dealing with an injury to his foot, and now you're talking about him making. And the thing that I struggle with Peyton Manning right now is decision making.
Yeah.
He's making poor decisions with the football, and that's something we're not accustomed to.
Certainly not accustomed to seeing Peyton Manning throw 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions thus far in the season. But let's move along to the Falcons, another team that started off strong, 5-0, now have lost their last 3 out of 4 games, including a back-to-back loss to 2 of the worst teams in the league, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the 49ers. Is this team unraveling?
I think unraveling is a strong word. Let's say they're getting comfortable, okay? Sometimes when you're a team that steps out of their comfort zone or steps out of their lane, I think the Falcons looked around at 5-0 like, Packers, Patriots, Bengals? What are we doing here? We're not supposed to be among these elite teams, because what happens when you become a team that is hunted and not the hunter? They came into this season with no expectations. And now all of a sudden you look around and you're the biggest game on that team's schedule. It's tough for a team like the Falcons to make that adjustment. They have to cut back on the turnovers. Hopefully the bye week will give them a chance to recharge the battery and start making better decisions with the football.
And we're seeing this team become stagnant offensively. They're not moving the ball up the field. Everything became so much slower the last few weeks, and this team has not scored a first quarter touchdown since week 4. That goes to show they've got to find a way to get started and get going early. Let's move along to the Dallas Cowboys, a team that is 2-7. Any other team, we'd be saying stick a fork in it. But Cowboy fans still seem to have a lot of hope in Tony Romo coming back and saving the season. Is that even a possibility at this point?
They play in the NFC East. Anything is possible in the NFC East division. But to say that they have a realistic shot is a long shot, because you look at this team, they have 7 losses on the season. I think the NFC East, as bad as it is still a 9-win division. That would mean they would have to run the table and win 7 straight games. Their games down the stretch are tough. I just don't see the Dallas Cowboys being able to do that. And they've got some turmoil in their locker room as well. I'm done with the Cowboys.
You know what? Call us Redskins fans, but I don't think anybody has faith in this team running the table, especially considering they've blown a lead in the last 4 games. That's the first time that has happened in this franchise's history. We're past the midway point of the NFL season, so it's time to take a closer look at some of the most competitive divisions. Starting off with the NFC North, the Vikings just jumped ahead of the Packers, now 7-2, Packers 6-3. This Vikings defense has emerged as one of the best in the league. Is that enough to make them the best team in this division?
Potentially, it is. Mike Zimmer is known for his defensive chops and what he's able to do on that side of the football. And he's starting to build this defense in an image of him. I mean, he went out in the draft and got Trey Waynes. Everybody wanted them to go get a receiver for Teddy Bridgewater. He goes out, gets the corner. You got a nice mixture of veterans and young players on this defense. They're getting after the quarterback. They don't have to necessarily blitz, but when they do, it's effective. Linval Joseph is playing out of his mind. They're getting really good play out of the cornerback position. This is a scary team, and if they continue to play the type of football they're playing on the defensive side, they're going to be a hard out in the NFC North.
And that defense has been extremely good when it matters. In third down situations, they're ranked 2nd in the league in opponents' third down conversions rate. Also good in the red zone. This defense allowing 17 points per game. We see what they're doing on the defensive end, but offensively, AP really producing week to week, establishing that running game, now leading the leading rushing, is on pace now to have 1,700 yards at the end of the season. Is that enough for this team offensively, or does Teddy Bridgewater have to step up?
At some point, he's going to have to step up. Teams are going to start loading up the box to stop Adrian Peterson. He actually said he loves running against those 8-man fronts because all he has to do is break one tackle and he's off to the races. But At some point, Teddy Bridgewater is going to have to make some plays. He did that against the Lions when he threw for over 300 yards. He can make plays, but the thing I love about this Vikings team that makes them dangerous is the fact that they don't play outside of themselves. They know who they are. They know what they want to do each and every single game. Run the football, play sound defense, don't beat ourselves. That's what they do. That's why they're 7-2 right now.
And the NFC East, the Giants still ahead, 5-5, Redskins 4-5, and the Eagles 4-6. Still a tight race. Do you envision any of these teams separating themselves?
I was a firm believer before Week 10 that the Eagles were going to be that team. Now that Sam Bradford is injured and that Eagles team blew an opportunity to beat the Dolphins at home, I'm starting to second-guess myself there. I think if anyone's going to run away, it would be the Giants, but I don't think the Giants are good enough to run away either. I think this division is literally going to come down to Week 17.
You know what? Last year, I thought that Mark Sanchez, he's a guy that can come in and be productive. I won't say consistently, but I am thinking, look at Sam Bradford. This guy has not been productive throughout the whole season. If they can get a little bit more production from Mark Sanchez, which Chip Kelly seems to be confident that might happen. I wouldn't take his word for it, but I still think this Eagles team can be the team that runs away with this.
The Giants have the best quarterback in the division with the teams that are in this race, with Eli Manning. They're starting to get pressure on the quarterback with Jason Pierre-Paul. They're a team that I think is gaining a little bit of confidence. I look at Mark Sanchez, and I call him Dirty Chaz because he always seems to do the one thing you say, hey, Mark, you can't do that. He did it against the Dolphins in the game. All they need is a field goal to take the lead. First down, he throws an interception in the end zone. They cannot win with Mark Sanchez at quarterback. If this division is going to come down to two teams, and again, Sam Bradford might only be out for 2 weeks. They still will be in this division. We'll see Redskins, Giants, huge matchup. No matter what happens with the Panthers in Week 11, huge matchup, Week 12. That should be very interesting.
The AFC South, the Houston Texans just jumped ahead of the Colts to be atop of that division. How do you see this one shaking out?
The AFC South is amazing because everyone has a shot. The 2-7 Titans aren't even dead in that division, but realistically, the Jaguars are at 3-6. They feel good about what they were able to accomplish on the road against Baltimore. You just talked about the Texans. What a win on Monday night versus the undefeated Bengals. No one gave them a chance in that game. They go there and win. They're playing with confidence now. I still think when it's all said and done, the Indianapolis Colts are going to find a way to win that division. But I'm telling you right now, Free, the Texans are starting to believe, and that defense is starting to play. And I told you last time that this defense was very disappointing. If they get it together, that could be a scary team in that division.
Andrew Luck out with a lacerated kidney indefinitely at this point. Matt Hasselbeck seems to be running this offense a lot better than Andrew Luck has this season. So to me, he's going to give them a better shot at coming out of this division and really competing in the AFC.
He's 87 years old. So I always worry about guys when they're that.
But he's a veteran, and he's a guy that has shown that he can make the right plays. At this point, this team might be able to survive if they can just have a game manager and a guy that's not going to give the ball away and a guy that's not going to give the game away.
I just don't know if that team is good enough to rally around Matt Hasselbeck or not. We'll see.
And lastly, the AFC North. This shouldn't even be a discussion, but for the fact that the Bengals just lost one on Monday Night Football, primetime, to the Texans, a team they're supposed to beat.
Yes.
Is there a shot that the Steelers creep up behind them and take the mantle in that division?
It's very possible. It's definitely on the table. I would feel a lot more comfortable saying yes had the Steelers not lost that game to them a couple weeks back at home. I would feel a lot more comfortable had they not lost Le'Veon Bell, their all-world back for the season. But with this Cincinnati Bengals team, and I told you this on the last program, I don't trust that football team. And because I don't trust them, anything's possible. I give the Steelers a legit shot still in that division. Even though they're 3 games back, they're still in it.
Injuries play a huge role in this. Health is on the Bengals' side. I don't trust them in the playoffs, but I do trust them to wrap up this division. That does it for this segment, Divisional Snapshots. Let the chips fall as they may. We are down to 2 undefeated teams left in the NFL, the New England Patriots and the Carolina Panthers, both 9-0. But Louie T, which one is going to be the last one standing?
Conventional wisdom says it's going to be the New England Patriots, but with Edelman going down now for an extended period of time, no Dion Lewis, we saw the Giants take them to the brink, and they probably should have lost that football game. We've disrespected the Carolina Panthers enough, I think. I think when it's all said and done, the Panthers actually playing in that division, I think they can handle their schedule more so than the Patriots can, because you look at the Patriots division, they could trip up at any time. They've got the Bills on Monday night. That could be a trap game there. This Patriots team with all these injuries starting to look a little vulnerable.
Certainly, without Julian Edelman, that's going to be a huge loss for this team, along with Dion Lewis being out. But this is still the most disciplined team in the league. They implement an offensive scheme and stick to it like no other team that I've ever seen. So I think that discipline is going to carry them throughout the season. I think they're going to be undefeated at the end of the season.
Really?
I think they're going to be undefeated. I haven't seen not one defense that can match up with this offense because of how they wear down defenses with those slow, methodical drives, dominating time of possession. I haven't seen that in a very long time. They do it very effectively.
I watched them play the Giants in Week 10, and the Giants not only were able to get consistent pressure on Brady, they forced him to turn the football over. If Landon Collins, their rookie safety, can hold on to the ball, that game is over. This Patriots team is in trouble because Edelman wins one-on-one matchups consistently. So does a guy like Danny Amendola, but Edelman is the guy that makes, I think, the receiving core go. If you can now look and try to take away Gronk, and I know it's easier said than done, but if you could try to focus your attention on Gronk and make a guy like LaFell or Amendola beat you, you've got a legitimate shot, because now you don't have to worry about someone out of the backfield killing you necessarily in the passing game.
Well, the Patriots were the last team to run the table in the regular season in 2007, so I hedged my bets on the Patriots. My guy Louie T here is going with the Panthers. We will definitely revisit this one. All right, we take a look at some of Week 11's marquee matchups, starting with the 8-1 Bengals versus the 7-2 Cardinals. Bengals, big loss, big stage. Now they've got a big game against the Cardinals. How do you think this one's shake out?
I'm really, really anxious to see how the Cincinnati Bengals respond to the first adversity they've had all season long. I mean, I think a lot of people, including myself, expect this team to struggle down the stretch. This is their opportunity to show they're a lot more mentally tough than we're giving them credit for. And so I want to see how they bounce back on the road. Sunday night, tough environment. Tough to go into Arizona and win. I like the Cardinals in this game. I think the Cardinals are poised to make a serious run in the NFC, not just the West. We feel like they're going to win that division now with that big cushion, but in the NFC conference as a whole, that's a dangerous team. They're clicking on all cylinders. I like the Cardinals in that ballgame.
Despite their troubles with the Houston Texans, they have shown throughout the season their defense, that those defensive disguise packages are very effective. How effective will it be against Carson Palmer?
I'm not sure if they can stop that Cardinals offensive attack. They have so many weapons. We saw Michael Floyd have a huge game versus the Seahawks. We know about Larry Fitzgerald. I think Jermaine Gresham is starting to get going at the tight end position in Arizona. I love what they have in the backfield. Andre Ellington made some big plays. I think they're going to have too many weapons for the Bengals to be able to contain on Sunday night.
And will this Bengals offensive line hold up against the Cardinals D-line?
I think they can. I think what you have to worry about is, will Andy Dalton make some mistakes versus that aggressive Arizona Cardinals secondary? That's where I'm a little bit concerned. Will he try to push the envelope and make a mistake with Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson and those guys back there that can really make some plays to impact the game?
Yeah, the pressure will certainly be there. We will see if he can hold up under pressure this time. All right, a divisional matchup between the Vikings and the Packers. Vikings 7-2 and the Packers 6-3. How do you see this one shaking out?
NFC North family business. The Vikings right now are riding a big emotional high. They've taken the lead. They went out to Oakland last week, got it done. Green Bay's struggling. We see where this is going. This is easily a big spot for the Vikings to take a leap and kind of run away and distance themselves from everyone else in this division. I'm not sure if they're ready to do that or not. I don't want to put the Packers to rest. I don't want to bury them in this division. I'm nervous about this game. If I'm a Vikings fan, I think the Packers are looming and they can take this one.
And the Vikings defense, very aggressive, but the Packers defense has to be more aggressive in this game. I think they should put that 8th, maybe even 9th guy in the box and take away the running game from AP. That has been the #1 consistent play on the offensive side for this Vikings team.
I agree.
Make Teddy Bridgewater beat you.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. If you're going to win this football game, if you're the Green Bay Packers, offensively, you've got to be much better, but obviously your #1 priority in this game is stop Adrian Peterson and that Vikings rushing offense.
4-5 Colts versus 6-3 Falcons. Falcons still struggling coming into this game, but the Colts, a swish of the quarterback. How's this one going to shake out?
I look at this game and I say to myself, okay, both of these teams are coming off of byes. You've got a situation where I feel like, and I'm still a firm believer in the Falcons turning this thing around. And I look at the Colts and I say they're still kind of struggling. You don't really know what they're going to be, even though we saw what this offense looked like with Matthew Hasselbeck earlier in the season. For them to go into Atlanta and win this football game, I think is going to be tough for them to do. I like the Falcons in this game to be able to establish the run. This is a really bad Colts defense against the ground game. I expect the Falcons to be able to establish the run game and allow Julio Jones to stretch the field deep.
The 7-0 Broncos taking on the 4-5 Bears. A first look at Brock Osweiler in the lineup for the Broncos. How effective can he be against this Bears defense?
A couple of weeks ago, this game was going to be a non-factor on the schedule. But now you look at the Bears and how they're playing, and you look at the Denver Broncos and how they're playing, and all of a sudden now with, like you just mentioned, Brock Osweiler in the lineup, it's going to be very interesting to see how he handles things, because he looked really good in the preseason. And I'm not a Brock Osweiler guy, but he looked really good in the preseason. I didn't think he looked that bad last week against Kansas City in spot duty. This is going to be a good test for him, because this Bears defense went to St. Louis and really showed us some things on the road against the Rams and forced them to make a quarterbacking change. So we'll see if a young Bears defense can confuse a young quarterback in Brock Osweiler.
And offensively, you imagine they're going to rely heavily on that rookie sensation, Jeremy Langford, who has emerged as a huge, valuable asset out of the backfield. Now has 324 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns in their last 2 victories against San Diego and St. Louis. So we will see.
Matt Forte 2.0.
Oh, yeah, 2.0. They're already calling him his protege.
Yes,
I don't know if Matt Forte is comfortable with that. He still wants to have a spot as the primary back. But, hey, we'll see how these matchups shake out. And, of course, a great Sunday afternoon and night of NFL football. That's it for us on this edition of The Playbook. For Louie T, I'm Free Golla. See you guys next time.